Jazzcast Pros.
Hello there, my graceful grinders. This is Dr. Pamala Brown-Grinion here with the Grace and Grind podcast, where we celebrate stories of strength, transformation, and purpose. Today, we are going to be going on a journey with Dr. Tonya Cannon, a friend of mine who has walked through the fire of adversity and emerged not just unscathed, but refined, stronger, wiser, and more determined than ever. Hello, Dr. Tonya. How are you doing today?
I am well, Dr. Pam. How are you?
I am fantastic. I'm so happy that you're here with us today. Thank you so much for deciding to jump on. I really appreciate it.
Well, I appreciate the invite. I'm sorry we didn't do this sooner, but let's get into it.
Let's do it. Let's do it. So, if you could please tell my listeners a little bit about yourself and what are you doing right now in your professional career? Like, what's going on in your life right now, professionally?
The shorter question is, what don't I do? I mean, I am an educator, I'm a filmmaker, I am a consultant, I write. As we have talked about before, I build the plane, I build the parts for the plane, I'm trying to land it, air traffic control, serving snacks.
Well, be careful because FAA is not in the tower, okay? Be very careful, right? I understand. That's all I can say about that is I understand when you are a solopreneur and you're responsible for getting it all done and not getting it done is not an option. Yeah, you got to build the plane, fly the plane, make the parts just like you said, and direct the plane all at the same time.
So just to give you I'll unpack that a little bit. 30 plus years in the human resource space, which led me to creating my consulting firm, Exceptional Consulting Services. And we specialize in organizational development, human resource management. We do educational consulting. We do dispute resolution. And so those things have, been passion for me for, as I said, 3 decades.
Yeah.
I also am a filmmaker, and my production company is Stagecraft Entertainment. We've done feature films, short films, award winning on both sides of that, working on new material right now. And, looking to get back on set in front of the screen because I act, I write, I produce. So, as I say, what don't I do?
Yeah.
And then I recently founded an online college, Ascension Online College, which I have extended the invitation for you to be a part of as well. And I'm so thankful that you have agreed to do that. And the college is essentially to take learners to that higher level, ascend to your next chapter, to your next plane, professional, personal, whatever that is. So let's get it, let's go.
Yeah, I love the name when you shared it with me, Ascension, and it just made me think about all of the different levels that we actually do have to go through in our lives. I mean, just from year to year, day to day throughout those years, like we're constantly, especially if you're a professional that practices excellence, you're constantly on this journey of trying to get to the next level. How can I make it better? How can I get the plane to a higher elevation? I really love the name Ascension. How did you come up with that name?
Another friend of mine, she always talks about taking it to another level and that sort of thing. And it is something that when I was thinking, what do I want to name this and what do I even want my logo to be? The logo is a graduation cap with an arrow behind it. And that education will take you to where you want to go. And that is the goal of an ascension education, to get you to that next level. And that's on your terms.
Yeah.
And most importantly, you don't have to mortgage your house or go into decades of debt, student loans and whatnot, in order to be able to afford this. This is an affordable educational experience that's quality.
I love that. So now you said that you've been on this your professional journey for 30 years, probably 30 years plus. And I'm making the assumption just based on my own life that you haven't always been in the place where you are successfully doing this and this and this and this, and you understand all the nuances about it. What was one of the defining moments or experiences in your life that forced you to pause and say, hey, I need to do something different here. Like, I don't like the trajectory that I'm going. Like before you got to where to this place, Dr. Cannon, right? Along the journey, when was that pivotal moment when you had to say, maybe I need to stop, pull back, rethink this, make a shift. I need to do something different.
Now you're really going to get into it, huh? It was the period where I had really considered not being here anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, was a single mom, and I just felt like I was failing. I felt like I was drowning, and had made the plan. Thankfully, my mother derailed that plan, whether she knew it or not,
Mm-hmm.
because I had spoken to her in preparation, not again to tell her that this was my plan, but just to make sure, okay, you got my daughter, right? And
Mm-hmm.
she said, I'm not raising her. No, I raised mine. I will help you, but
Right.
this is a you situation.
Right.
And when she did that, I really had to, okay, plan not going according to where I thought it was going. So I really had to pivot and think about, what do I want for my daughter? What How am I going to make that adjustment? So I had to literally correct my course and go from there. And from there, a lot of therapy, counseling, and back to school, and just so that I can honestly say was, it's unfortunate, but through adversity comes the strength and the resilience.
I love that. So I imagine while you're going through this period of, gosh, life is lifing, and I just feel like I'm failing on every side and I don't want to be here anymore. I imagine you must have been in a lot of emotional pain, right? So, what or when, or maybe what and when, did you realize that carrying the emotional pain was no longer serving you? And like, how did it manifest?
I think during therapy, it was really, that type of thing. Plus, I mean, I credit my mom with saving my life a number of different times, but my mom is very wise, and you've met her, so I'm not speaking out of turn. And, one of the things that she was very specific about, and is that this too shall pass. Unaliving yourself is a permanent solution to a temporary problem, even if it feels like it's never going to be different. So you have to keep that in mind. And with, therapy and that sort of thing, it really became it was a godsend, first of all, and allowed me to even forgive my one of my abusers. And not for him, because I mean, I don't know if I can say this, but I wouldn't spit on him if he were on fire. It's not for him,
Yes, it's for
it's
you.
for me.
Yes, yes. I 100% understand and I can relate to that. Like, but part of my story. So you know that I understand. And I know for me, when I was going through my transition, I felt like I needed to redefine myself when I got to that do or die space in my life, right? I felt like I needed to redefine myself. What did your redefinition and your transformation look like for you?
At first, it was, because when I my first bout of college, I went to NYU for drama. Since I was in preschool, have always wanted to be an actor. And when life happens, and that was no longer an option. I wasn't going to be a single mom that was waiting tables and, you know, letting my kid just be whatever, you know. So I made a conscious decision to pivot into corporate. And so that's how my career started. So ensuring that there was a way forward for not only me, but for my child. I am not somebody that I'm not looking to just get by. I want to be successful.
Right.
And that's always been how I have approached life. As an educator, half acre for why? I it, what is the point in doing it if you're not going to do it 100, 1,000%?
Right. And you grew up with success. You saw success modeled in your home.
Absolutely, absolutely. My father has been an entrepreneur for over 50 years, and humble, very humble beginnings for both of my parents in rural Mississippi. So for him to have the level of success that he's had, and again, it hasn't been a smooth ride, don't get me wrong, but you learn along the way. And that modeling and that drive, that ambition, yes, it is inherited in some ways, but it's also, I think there's some inner fortitude that has to be there as well, because you can come from greatness and still aspire to nothing. So these are your choices.
This is true. Wow, that was say that again, Dr. Tom. That was yeah, say that again, please.
You can, these are about your choices. You can aspire to greatness, but that is a choice.
I think
Success is a choice.
it is. I think your dog is over there saying amen. Was that a dog bark that I heard?
That was, I apologize.
No, no, no. They're saying, "Amen, mommy. Say that. Talk that talk." You know, I love it. I have two little ones too that you might hear in the background as well. So that's okay. This is family oriented, and we understand that our pets are part of our family, and they might interrupt us because they don't know. They're just like, "Who is this beating my time?" Right? So it's quite all right. So, again, for me, when I was going through my self discovery journey and transitioning and trying to, shift because where I wasn't working for me, I had to admit some ugly truths about myself in order for me to grow from the space where I was. If I was going to get to that next dimension, I had to really, as they say, shine the magnifying glass on myself, put myself under the microscope, and really look at myself for who I really was when I stood in front of the mirror and I saw myself, my naked truth. I had to admit some things about myself that was very difficult to admit, but I knew I couldn't grow if I did not make these awarenesses. And I always, like to say to my coaching clients, you can't heal what you're trying to conceal, and you can't lie to yourself, right? So what would you say would have been that one hard truth that you had to admit to yourself in order to grow from that painful emotional space in order to start yourself on a new paradigm shift?
I think the main thing was coming to the realization that for a good number of years, even though I was, making my mark in human resources and so forth, I was very much just getting by. I was, as I've talked to you before about, I was a passenger. I was a passenger in my life. And when you get to, I would say it was probably 15 years ago, where I was looking like, this is 20 years I'm never going to get back.
Hmm.
I and is this what I want to do for the next 20 or the next 40?
Hmm.
God willing that I have that many. So now I'm over 50, right? And it's like, you have more years in the rear view than you have ahead. And so then you really have to make that decision about what are we really doing here? What is my legacy going to be? And I want my legacy to be one of excellence. As I say to my students, mediocrity for why? I don't live in mediocrity. I don't know mediocrity's address, phone number, email, none of that. I don't know anything about that. And I need for you to get where I am. I need for you to strive to be better, to be the best version of yourself.
Mm-hmm. I
because
love
anything
that.
else is
It's unacceptable.
unacceptable.
Mm-hmm. I love that. I don't know anything about the whereabouts of mediocrity. I, I don't know anything about it. I love that. And you know what I often tell my coaching clients and my students are, I often say to them that no one rises to low expectation.
That
You know, like if I'm gonna set some expectations for myself, if I'm gonna set some expectations for you, you better believe that it's gonna be big dream goal planning. I'm not going to give you something that's gonna be easy to achieve. I want to stretch you. I want to push you. I want you to feel the stretch because that's where the growth comes, right?
yes.
If we stay status quo, we can't expect change. That's like doing the same thing over and over and over and expecting a different result. If we want to change something, then we got to change something, right? So yeah, that is, oh, I love that. I don't oh I'm gonna use that just so you know, but I will cite my source, doctor to doctor.
Permission granted. I mean, and what you just said was what it made me think of when you exercise, right? When you exercise, you push yourself to be physically fit, right? You need to be
Right,
emotionally fit. You need to be mentally fit. And in order to push that physicality, you get sore when
right.
you work those muscles that are unworked.
You
And
feel
that's how you know the growth is happening. It's not fun. It's
mhm,
not comfortable, but it's necessary.
necessary. And it's a mindset shift, right?
Absolutely.
So any type of change that you want to do with your life, especially if you're having difficulty, like you were saying, being a passenger in your own life, being a backseat passenger in your own life, in order to move into the driver's seat, you have got to change your mindset. Once you step out of that car and open up that front door and decide to sit behind that steering wheel, you have got to change your mindset because you cannot get to where you're going, this new destination, with an old roadmap. It is
Say
not
that
going
again. Say that again.
yeah, it's not going to happen. You cannot expect to experience change or to reach a higher level of success or anything. It's going to take a whole new strategy. You can't use yesterday's strategy for today's goals. You just can't, because that's what you did then. Now if you're saying you want to get to the next level, and it's so ironic, my pastor has actually been teaching on, new life, new shift, new dimension, new strategies. It's just been such a great series to be, learning from in his sermons, that and it's something that you can apply when you leave on Sundays. You can apply it to your everyday life. And it's true, just like it is in your spiritual walk and your natural walk, that you got to change up some stuff. And it may be, you may have to change people, places, and things.
Say
Right?
that 5 times fast because
Listen,
the person that, was with you, Pookie and Ray Ray and them, is not going to get you to, the next level unless they're willing to do the work themselves.
exactly. Exactly. So what would you say was your biggest mindset shift that you needed to change in order to change the trajectory of your life? What was that one thing that really, it was like the light is on, I got to go, I got to shift.
I think when I decided to move from Rochester to California to pursue my acting career,
Mhm.
and make no mistake, my dad and my mom supported and were very helpful. My sister very helpful and supporting that decision, and getting out here, coming and when you come to Hollywood and you're not 20 and you're not young, you're not white, you're not skinny, it makes a difference. And so one of the reasons that I created my own production company was, getting told, oh, you're not quite right, and this and that. And it's like, well, you know what? If Hollywood's not going to give me what I want, I'll make it myself. I don't need you. And that is what I did. So I produced my feature and starred in it and wrote it and cast it. I one of the experiences on that front was working with a casting director who said, "Well, you're not named talent, so you're never going to get anybody, notable to work on your movie." And I said, "Well, if you're going to tell me what I can have and what you're not going to be able to do, I don't need you. You're fired." And I cast it myself. And I got Ryan Merriman and Corbin Burnson and a couple of people from soap operas and Samantha Esteban, who did a film with Denzel Washington
Yeah,
called,
those are little.
Training Day.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, tell me what I can't do. I'll show you what I can.
When they don't give you a seat at the table,
I built my own table.
okay.
I built my own table. I don't need your.
Thank you. And bring your own chair, right? I love it. So you're out in California. You are trying to navigate this new terrain, a new career in your life. Your life has changed. You're dealing with some emotional stuff, some mental stuff, maybe some spiritual stuff. You're in this very difficult chapter of your life. What was the, how did you how did you go through that while you're going through your healing journey at the same time? Like, how did you navigate? Because those are choppy waters, to be doing that all at the same time. How did you navigate and do that?
Well, I think the healing really began before I moved out here. So I was pretty much done with therapy, and that, was several years. So by the time I made the decision to move out here, I feel like I was in pretty good emotional foundation, if you will. I had made my forgiveness proclamations, not to him, but in my own head. And at that point, you just feel lighter. Understand, when you carry that baggage, it weighs you down. Nobody else is feeling that.
Girl,
So if you want to be angry at somebody, good. And that will help you. How? It
right.
doesn't. Nobody can go back and change what has been done. If you thought I wasn't a good XYZ PD or Q,
Hmm.
I'm sorry about that. And either you forgive me and we move on, or you don't. And that will be your decision, because I'm over here. This train is not stopping. The baby is agreeing.
Yeah, amen. Amen. And it takes a really courageous and strong woman to forgive someone about something that at one point in time of your life it seemed unforgivable. Like, you got to work through some stuff to get to that point. You don't just arrive there. You've been raked over the coals emotionally and been burning and just a mess for a minute. Like you said, you looked up and it's like 20 years, and I can't do this for 20 more years, right? Like, tell the listeners, how do you get to the place where you're able to forgive someone for your own healing when before it just seemed unforgivable? How did you get there where you just knew, I can't, I'm not, I'm not carrying this anymore?
Because you said it right there. It's me carrying this. He doesn't care.
Right.
He is not thinking about me anymore,
Probably don't even know that you're feeling like this.
and would not care if he did.
This is true.
Okay. And so it's about, this is affecting me. This is making me scratch myself bloody and giving me sores. And this is about me not being able to sleep or have digestive issues, or my life is not better with this anger. My life is not better because I'm holding on to unforgiveness. And once I really got that, when we talk about things being unforgivable, that's, I think, where the misnomer, if you will, is.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, as much as I hate to admit this, everything is forgivable if you're willing to forgive.
You're willing to forgive. Absolutely.
Some people are, you know, that doesn't make the person any less horrible or but
Right.
but again, it's about you and your healing. And if you want to carry this, again, that's a you decision. All of these, when I said success is a choice, healing is a choice, forgiveness is a choice, all of these things that we're talking about, these are all choices.
Right.
And
Right.
you either choose to move forward and be blessed and embrace the blessings, because the fact that we woke up today is a blessing.
That's right.
Some people don't see that or can't focus on it, but those are the things that the stuff that is really important. We have a lot of control over it. We don't have control over everything, but what we do have control over, we need to exercise that.
Correct. I wholeheartedly agree with that. Like, and it's not always the experience, the negative experience that we've gone through. It's the way that we deal with what we've gone through, our mindset about what we've gone through. And like you said, it's a choice. We can choose to harbor. And sometimes we don't know how to let it go. Like people say, just suck it up, buttercup, and man up and put on your big girl panties, and you just need to, move into the future, let go of the past. But sometimes people don't know how to do that. Especially when you've had this weight in your life, this emotional weight in your life for more years than you haven't, and you've never learned the language, or you didn't have anyone to, you didn't go to counseling, or you didn't have anyone to tell you, how do I suck it up, how do I let it go, right? And I think that we have to take a step back and teach people young, like teach our young ladies, our girls young, that if you run into an emotional encounter and it causes negative repercussions and consequences in your life, then you have to reframe your thinking around what happened, versus, because you can go positive or you can go negative. Like you said, it's a choice, right? So we have to think differently about the situation that we've gone through. Yes, acknowledge it happened. Yes, I'm having these emotions, but then am I going to allow 20 years? Am I going to allow this experience to rob me of life, of 20 years of life? Like, how do we get them there sooner, quicker, learning how to, heal from things, how to process these things in a healthy way, right? So I think, those are some of the things that we need to start implementing with our young people. And that's what I do at Totally Unique. It's inside and out work. If you don't want to work on the inside, then I'm not your coach, right? You can't come to me, because I'm not just going to teach you how to dress it up on the outside. If you're not willing to do that inner work, I am not your girl. So, with that being said, if you could speak to the woman that you were before your healing took place, what wisdom would you share with her, Tonya?
Forgive yourself. That is the best advice, because that is what will really allow you to let go. This X, Y, whatever it was, this was not my fault. If it was done to me, that's on the other person. It is not my fault. I don't own it. I'm not going to keep it. And once you really are able to let go of any self hatred, self, as I said, shame, then you can really say, you know what, I'm here for the rest of this. I'm here for the rest of this ride. Let's do what we need to do to make the ride as enjoyable. I mean, like with any roller coaster, there are ups and downs. There are scary things. That happens for everybody. It's again how we choose to move forward in this life that makes whatever time we have left on this earth worth living, and being around, and legacy, and all of those things.
Legacy. Great word. What legacy do you hope your story of grace and grind will leave behind?
Perseverance and striving for excellence. I would want people to know that you don't have to stay just because you get knocked down. Again, it's a choice whether you stay there. Get up. And if you get knocked down again, get up again. It's hard, and I'm the first one to admit that this is not easy. But again, the pain is where the growth happens.
Yes, yes, yes. Dr. Tonya, thank you so much for being here with me today. You are my sister girl, my sister from another mister.
Thank you. Back at you. Back at you. I appreciate the invitation for sure.
Yes, and if I can ever reciprocate, all you have to do is say the word, and I am there.
Well, I will look forward to hosting you on my podcast.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, there you have it, my graceful grinders. We have been speaking with Dr. Tonya Cannon, my dear, dear, dear friend of over 20 years. And I hope you have enjoyed this segment. If you did enjoy it, leave me a comment, share with your sister girls, your girlfriends, feel free to share. And don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to subscribe. So, we are done and we are out. And I would like to bid you a farewell and leave you with my closing message of always remember to create your totally unique day on purpose.